Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me. We gotta swing. We gotta swing a little bit because it's getting close to fall season time, and you know what's about to go down. All right, it's your boy Lionel, class of 2009, back with another episode of PV versus everybody. And listen, this show is not for. All right, this is not for the tender of hearts. Okay, this ain't the one for the tender of heart. All right, so if that's you, you might want not to be here. Okay, because we gotta have some real conversations about PV Nation on today. Right, gotta have some real conversations about PV Nation on today. You know, and we gonna get it in. But you guys already know how we do it. First and foremost, starting off. You know, we talk about over here at PV versus everybody. First and foremost, I got to remind each and every one of you, right? You know what I'm saying? That listen, we are trying to get to that 600 subscriber mark for you guys who have been on, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to get to that 600 subs. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show some love, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and like and share this with others too as well. If you're not following us on Instagram and on Twitter, go ahead and do that as well. We are on both platforms. All right, you know, and so make sure you're following us on both platforms as we seek to get this content out to you guys. You know what I'm saying? But listen, today, talking about common sense. All right, common sense changes ahead. All right, because we need to make some changes. All right, we need to have some changes. You know what I'm saying? We need to have some conversations, especially around because we talking about we not talking about what, right? We've talked about what for a long time, right? So I want to have some conversations around the how, all right? Around the how. So we got some individuals that are going to be joining us this evening to have this fuller conversation. And so without further ado, man, I want to bring up some others who are going to be joining us tonight. And first and foremost, we got that man, you know what I'm saying? Y'all may know him as Boo Bay, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Proctor. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, fam. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm super excited because listen, we getting close to football season. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really about to go down. Like it's about to go down like nobody's business. But before we get into the football season, right? We got to talk about the gathering, right? You know, so we got to talk about this homecoming, right? You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about homecoming when I say the homecoming, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to have you on, right? You know, I know you one of those who represents I Love PVU, and so you know, definitely excited to have you on because you guys have done some awesome work in the past on behalf of the university and for the alumni, right? And so I know you guys have such a unique perspective, and so I'm excited to have you guys on to share. So I also want to bring up in line with Mr. Proctor, Sid Brass. How you doing?
So what's up, everybody? How's it going?
How we doing, man? That man got the headset. Like I feel dressed. Like he got the head.
Man.
Thing going, you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Yes.
What's up, Sid?
What's up, Dr. Proctor?
Yes, sir. And he's also connected, obviously, with I Love PVU as well, right? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so again, right, I want to have some of you guys on, right, because I know you guys bring such a unique perspective to the conversation. Also, another gentleman who had the privilege to run into, and many of you guys probably know out there in PV Nation as well, Mr. Young, you know what I'm saying, joining us on the scene. And I think, you know, I obviously want to have him on because he has such a unique perspective from many of us, you know what I mean? And so I'm super excited for him to be able to come on and share his perspective as well. How you doing, Mr. Young?
Just fine. How you guys doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying it. And I see in the background, you know what I'm saying, we got another one who's jumped on who I'm super excited to hear her perspective as well. Miss Cornelius, how are you doing this evening?
Hey y'all, good. How y'all doing?
Yes, and I know Jess is connected all over the HBU space, and obviously the work that she did, especially on campus, right? When she was at PV during her time, talking about gathering, especially we talk about students, you know what I'm saying, that perspective, right? And talk about the work she's doing to encourage alum of all HBCUs right now. So I'm excited also to have her on tonight to have this bigger and this larger, you know what I'm saying, conversation. So I'm super excited, man. Getting close to football season. I already know it's about to go down. I'm just excited about the rest of PV Nation getting to see it, you know what I'm saying, in front of their eyes, right? Getting to see it live and in person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's why I want to have this conversation. And so listen, and this is something that people, this is gonna be for the first. Y'all gonna be the first to hear it. And I told y'all at 500 subscribers, we're doing something special. I got confirmation. The date's not set yet, but I already got confirmation. Listen, that bad man, Coach Henry Frazier, is gonna be coming on the show. You know what I'm saying? As we getting ready for a big season, man, I had to bring a big, you know what I'm saying, to remind us of what we are capable of, because I know this team has the ability to get that same job done. So he's gonna be coming on the show, man. We're definitely getting that set up. So that's gonna be soon before obviously the first week of the season, because that man is a busy man himself, right? You know what I mean?
Great.
So we get that set up. So you guys I'm pretty sure you guys will be excited about that. We'll drop that information. So make sure you're following the channel. Make sure you got your notification bell on to find out what it is. But first and foremost, I just want to start off because, you know, we've been having a lot of conversations, right? A lot of conversations just around fan engagement, gaming experience, right? About alum attending games, all these different things, right? So I really wanted to have Mr. Young on. I reached out to his wife because, you know, when I heard just you guys, just kind of how you guys got connected with PV, it's amazing to me, right? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's not necessarily shocking because I feel like I was a part of that same experience when it came to my younger years in Louisiana in terms of Grambling State University athletics, right? Because obviously I didn't go to Grambling, right? But I went to Grambling a lot, right? You know what I'm saying? Because of my dad's connection, who was not an alum of Grambling State, by the way, who gave them a lot of money and still gives them a lot of money, right? So, Mr. Young, man, can you just tell us a little bit about your experience and how you got connected with Prairie View Athletics?
Well, how we got connected, my wife, Dr. Charles McClellan was the AD, and my wife and he had done a business deal, and he kept inviting us. So we decided to come and support. We said, well, we'll go to a game. We went to a game. I think the first one was in the Astrodome when they were playing Southern University. And it was okay. And we went a few times, started saying, well, it wasn't bad. So when we'd have free time, we would go to a game. And when we were at the old stadium, you know, the boys would have to come out after the game when you were out front. So you would get to meet them and talk to them. And we got that connection. And from that point on, I would say we went to about 95% of the football games every year.
Wow.
And we were at a homecoming one year, and Cynthia Cooper came by with selling spirit towels for the team. And she asked us, I bought 3, trying to support. And she said, I would like for you guys to come to a basketball game. She said, not now, but when we start winning. I said, sure, we'll do that. My wife said, why did you say that? I said, baby, they hadn't won in forever. We don't ever have to worry about that. Well, in about, so in a little bit that year, she brought in 9 freshmen, I believe it was. They start winning that year. So I started following after she asked that. So I told my wife, I said, they're winning. We got to go to a game. My wife said, well, I didn't tell her that, you did. So I had to keep my word. So I started going to the games, and they were hustling and playing and was good. So you connect with the players, and that's how we got started. We started going into every sport we went to, and we were with soccer, basketball, football. One of the coaches we would meet, and they would say, why don't you come out and check out one of our games? And we said, okay, why not? And once you go and connect,
That's right.
you're there. But you need to meet the players, the coaches. Yes. You get that connection, and it's like you have a dog in the fight. You're not there just watching the game.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's an amazing, perspective. I think there's so many things, right, that came out just in that short story. And for me, it's amazing because, this happens with, I feel like my wife all the time, right? Because so many different events, so many different things we're part of and go to. And I always look up and kind of like, how do all these people get here? Where do these people come from? And my wife, the simple answer is just like, I invited them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that makes sense. I mean, you probably should just ask people. You probably either going to say yes or they going to say no. But it what amazes me, because I always tell, I feel like, man, you just got that thing. Because anytime you ask somebody to come to something, like, they be there, right? You know what I'm saying? But a part of it is like, you also just got to ask, right? Like, you got to ask. I think in human nature, I think for some of us, there's a fear of asking, almost like the fear of rejection, you know what I'm saying? But asking can get you results, right? And that's what happened with you, Mr. Young. Not only coming to one game, though, they created a Prairie View athletics, right? We talk just big on this, right? Not football, not PV football fan, right? A PV athletics fan who's been to multiple games, multiple teams, not just at home too, right? We went to 95% of all the football games, home and away. We enjoyed the away games just as much, or maybe even more, by traveling. And most of the time back then, the people who were at the away games were the same people. So you had a nice little, you'd be at the hotel, you have a nice little dinner or whatever the night before. It was wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, with that being said, man, I want to bring this up, because this was shared a little bit early on a lot of the different social media platforms, just about the SWAC schools home attendance. Obviously, you see PV at the near the bottom of this attendance. Now, obviously, these numbers aren't exactly correct, right? We had this conversation, but right when you look, we're at the bottom tier of this list, all right? Even with corrected numbers, we're at the bottom tier of this list. I'm asked this question, right, for us to get into this, and then we're gonna build from here. Why is it that we are at the bottom of this list and not at near the top of this list? And I asked that question while also recognizing that first and foremost, the SWAC is the leading conference in attendance across the board. Period. Let's also understand that, right? The SWAC has led FCS in attendance for every year except 1 year that they've actually taken attendance numbers, right? So SWAC is done great when you talk about across the board. Even Mississippi Valley with 5692, that is more than a whole bunch of FCS schools. I want us to just understand the caveat of that, right? You know what I'm saying? So even this small number of 5,692, a lot of schools, even FCS programs, would say, man, I wish we can get 5,600 people in our stands, right? But now, how do we elevate? Why is it that we aren't at the bottom of this list and not elevated at the top of this list? What is your thought process on that? And that's open to anybody to give a thought process.
Well, I will say that just looking at this list, I can tell you for a fact that these numbers are not indicative of the fan base and the passion of Prairie View's fan base. It's just not, right? And I would lean towards our lack of effort in marketing the to our fan base. As someone said, Brad and I have been marketing to the PV alumni fan base since 2008, and we've had no problem whatsoever pulling Prairie View's alumni base to events and having them show up in mass numbers, right? And it's just a matter of engaging, informing, right, enticing them through creative marketing to attend the events. PV people love being around PV people. PV people love attending PV events. And so if you just put forth the effort and use, I guess, common practices, you could say, as far as media is concerned, then that number will rise almost immediately. Like, I'm baffled when I look at these numbers, and I think the numbers just show the effort that we kind of put forth in our marketing.
Anyone else? Jess, Sid, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think obviously marketing is a thing. One of the things that I always tried to figure out was how could we market to who was next? So we've got Waller ISD, we've got Hempstead ISD, Tomball's not far, Brenham is not far either, Cypress and things like that. We have people that work in the K-12 Strategic Partnerships Office. What are we offering outside of elementary, middle, and high school day on the Hill? When it's football season, it's very exciting on the Hill. Every home game, doesn't matter if we're playing, it doesn't matter who we're playing. It's all, right. You know, and I believe that in those early years, in those grade school years, and in those secondary years, those are your most vulnerable in terms of, right, impressionable. And so what are we doing outside of a pep rally, amongst other things? But if you don't want to go that far, which you should, but I didn't see enough effort being put out that way, what are we doing for on campus? Your freshman class is always going to be your most excited class to be involved in some regard on campus. So how do we implement the freshman class, just start class by class in the games? At Baylor, they have something called a Baylor line. And that's where they have their freshmen line up on the field, and their freshmen make the human tunnel for the football team that comes in. Yes. If we had, maybe a freshman escort or something like they do, I think it's at the University of South Carolina for the mascots, even though, yes, they are just mascots, but they take their mascot very seriously. What roles can we introduce to freshmen only, perhaps, to build that excitement and that momentum for them? Because they're the ones that are there for the next 3 years. Another thing is, over the last, 5 to 10 years, you become in competition with a lot more outside elements than probably ever before with the innovation in terms of technology and things like that. We have a lot to do outside of Prairie View now than probably before. And so something like tailgating and stuff like that, just traditional, it doesn't excite us. But you won't know what excites the students if you don't talk to the students. And that's another thing. Visible leadership, visible people who work in the athletics department outside of just the alumni. You guys are the people who work here. So we can talk to the alumni, all day long, but who can we talk to that can really implement that type of change? So
no, that's big. I really like what you shared there, and it makes me think about there's some numbers when I love to just look at the numbers, right? Because to me, I think I look at the numbers, but I hear and see a different story when I look at the numbers than when I feel like a lot of other people look at the numbers, right? So when I look at these numbers, if you're telling me that you have students, you have alum and community members that in these different years, right? We're looking at the numbers, right? They're up and down, right? Back and forth. But if we're saying that we haven't done the best in terms of outreach to our students, in terms of outreach to the community around us, right? And even outreach to the alum, and yet we have this type of numbers at our games, right? To me, it makes me think more like how Mr. Proctor is saying that, hold on, we can't say that we don't have a fan base. And I don't know why. I understand where those narratives come from, right? It comes from outside of us, and we've grabbed hold of those, and now we are even repeating it ourselves, which I hate it. It makes no sense to me, because how do you got 7,200 people to come to a game last year, but then you say you have no fan base? You say you have no fan support. That don't make sense. Now, I understand when you say we need to do better, we can do a lot better, we can do a lot more. I completely agree with you. But how is 7,200 people poo-poo that? That is like top 40 in all of FC. There are so many schools who want that number, right? So we can't, while we're having these conversations, I think what we can't do is denigrate the people who are already searching, the students who are already going to games, the community members who are already connecting with us. We have so many people who already are seeking out information. Yeah, it didn't come to us in the right way, in the right package, but guess what? All these people went and found it and drove down 290 and went to the game, right? From Dallas, from Houston, from San Antonio, wherever, right? All on campus, and they walk from their dorms to the games. So we got a great base that we're starting with. We're trying to build on this base, right? But while we're building, let's not talk down on the base that we already got, right? You know what I'm saying? Because these numbers show me that you actually got people who will support you, right? Who are supporting you, right? It's now like, how do we tap into these different levels of individuals and get them there? And one thing we keep hearing over and over again, right? One thing is about the location, right? People keep saying, well, this location is not a location where individuals will come to, right? First and foremost, I want us to understand, we, outside of the Southern University system, we have the largest alumni base of all HBCUs outside of the system of Southern. Which you talking about multiple schools, you talk about system of Southern, right? Not just the main campus. The largest HBCU base, over 80,000 alum. Also in the area, you talking about Alabama State in Montgomery. Montgomery is like 200,000 people. They're averaging now this year 19,000, last year 18, before 14. Look, in within 20-25 mile drive of most of our campus is all these different, we talking about these different areas, right? You got enrolled in 9,400. We talking about the African Americans in Houston, that's over 500,000, right? That's in Houston. But then Waller County, Katy ISD, Tomball, Cy-Fair, this is just the students, by the way. This ain't the parents. So we got people within a literal reach of our campus, right? We can't keep talking about the community like, man, I understand we're a little bit farther out as far as from Houston, Texas proper, but y'all keep acting like everywhere you go ain't a 45-minute drive. Like, why y'all keep acting like that? I live in Houston. I know. I just came from my son's school. I had to drive 50 minutes. All right? It's a private school. Like, look, come on now. With the traffic too, it's the same amount of time for me to jump on 99 and go to the game.
Absolutely.
So can you help me to understand, right? Because we talk about this, and the other thing is homecoming. Homecoming. How can we listen? All right, let me just say this, right? And then I want to get your perspective. homecoming provides so much value for us as PV alumni, right? We can't forget that. It's not just like people come to homecoming just because it's like we just pull up a homecoming and ain't nothing available for us. No, there's a lot of stuff made available for us at homecoming that makes it worth me spending money and time to come back to homecoming, right? This game, right, is only a period of time. It's not a full week, but we can't ask people to treat regular games like homecoming if we're not also willing to invest in giving them something to help make it similar to homecoming, right? Say what is your thought process around that, right? Because I think there's not a level of I don't know if it's the accountability is the word, right, but thought process around the fact that, listen, no matter whether it's even family members or your church community or whatever, you still got to give something. You can't just expect people to always give us something and there's nothing given back, right? So can you just talk a little bit about that process, especially with and some of the things you've seen with I Love PVU?
Yeah, you know what the thing is was funny, and I think it's some great points made by everyone, but a lot of this is just changing the shift in mindset. The mindset of us as alumni, I think that a lot of us aren't used to the culture of athletics embedded into our daily lives as students. And so now when you become alumni, it passes on generationally. And we deal with this as, rabid fans and all the other podcasts and listening to outsiders, shaping the new minds of the cultures that they have even been used to. Unfortunately, they're used to seeing PV as losers. So it's hard to kind of reshape their mindset when it comes to like pose and identity. And we also have that same type of mindset. You were talking earlier about us repeating a lot of what outsiders say. But when it comes to mindset of athletics and culture, for a lot of us, we are repeating that same mindset that we hear from outside because we either are influenced by what outsiders think and say, and then we don't have that like mental muscle that we often should have, like other universities. Soon as you walk in from day one, there's a culture and a mindset of how people perceive athletics and are dedicated and loyal to athletics. And I think that's something that we're going to have to even build when the freshman class come in, like we used to have pals and things of that nature. We're going to have to inculcate in these freshmen as they come in this kind of mindset where we support, as the sister just brought up, integrating freshmen and the classes into the athletic environment. And I think that will shape it generationally as we go down the line.
I got you. Now, we talk about the freshmen, right? How is it that we're going to inculcate that into our freshmen when they come in, right? Because I know we've mentioned that. I've heard Boom used to talk about that before. What does that look like, though, right? Because we're trying to get more practical, right? And I always say I say this when we talk about Black people. Listen, Black people got to pull themselves by their own bootstraps, but the government implemented a lot of things that caused it to be hard. So the government also has a part to play, right? And in the same way, it's the same way here, right? Alum have a lot they need to do, right? But while alum have a lot they need to do, there also is the other side of the university, the athletic department, etc. Together, we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, right? So there's two sides to the coin. So when we talk about the freshmen, and so all the questions I'm asking is with that caveat of there's an alum side and there's a university side, right? We're not only looking at one or the other, we're looking at both, right? Because everybody got to do something. But how do we inculcate our freshmen when they come in, freshmen, sophomore, junior, senior year, so that by the time they get to be seniors and then graduate, all that we try to put into them freshman year, it just goes away, right? How does this look, right? Because we're talking about it, but does anybody have any thought process of how that actually looks practically being implemented? And that's for anybody.
Well, you have to desire to want to do it first. And sometimes, I always question capacity. Do we have people in place that are able to focus on this particular thing and not feel overwhelmed or not feel like they're wearing multiple hats? Yes, that happens in the workplace, but does it have to happen in the workplace? Do we have the money in the budget to do it, or have we not just really sat back and determined? Or what does this look like? How can you utilize your upperclassmen? How can you utilize, people are always looking for community service. How can you utilize that? There's always people on campus that are doing things. When I was there, we had the PV Step internship program where you applied to work in different areas on campus. You got that experience. Some of us worked that job. It went from an internship to that's where we worked until we graduated. And then we moved on within that same vertical or what have you. But first, you really have to be interested in these students. You have to be interested in the desires of the students. And I don't see that enough. I didn't see that enough as a student. And I don't know if part of it was because in still working in higher education at a rather large university, I don't know if it's because people looked at it as a stepping stone or this is just kind of where I'm dropping off at. So there's really nothing to be serious. But you have to desire and want that. And then also utilize your upperclassmen who are eager to be a part because they didn't have it as freshmen. A lot of people, I didn't have the PAL experience because I was a transfer student, but a lot of the pals I do know, they yearn for ongoing opportunities to get freshmen to love Prairie View as much as they did, to the point where they wanted to mentor those incoming freshmen. So capacity, desire, and interest, it starts there.
You know, in my opinion, and I mentioned marketing before, and that's a broad umbrella, but when you really dig into it, it is marketing. And when you talk about engaging students, you know, you have to do it at the ground level. You have to have students informed of when these games are. I know for a fact there are students on campus who had no idea when games were, right? So when students are on campus, you know, you should have signage across the campus that it's game day Saturday. Right.
So you're telling me that people don't know when the games are and they're on campus?
Oh, absolutely. And these are students who love football, right? These are students, and I'm talking to alumni who have kids that go to a lot of PV football games, and they have no idea that the games were on campus, right? So, you know, that ground level marketing and engagement is getting students to be aware that the game is Saturday. Whatever that looks like, if it's signage and easels placed across the campus, if there are push flyers placed under every door on campus, where you're informing the students that there's a game Saturday, whether you have your professors in the classroom environment bringing it up and addressing that there's a game on Saturday. If the game time atmosphere before the game is a tailgate and free food where students are fed, and that's the reason to come to the game. You have members of the band, you have members of the football team that are engaging the student body. Maybe there's a uniformity in wearing certain band shirts, you know, the Friday before the game, and hats and things like that. So those are the types of marketing campaigns that you have to do to get your student body engaged. Gone are the days where you can just do nothing, and because there's nothing to do in Prairie View, all the students are going to come to the game. Nowadays, there's so many things happening on social media and so many other places. You have to layer your engagement. You need, you know, on-campus engagement, online engagement, in-person engagement, the whole nine, to get your students to the game. And so when I say marketing, you know, it encompasses a lot, but when we're talking about the student body, those things will help.
No, that's big. And I think it's, some people are going to hear that and almost kind of like push that away as if that doesn't make sense. But I think, and listen, especially we talk about, you know, Mr. Proctor, you know, Mr. Brass and Mr. Young, no disrespect, you know, but you know, you got a generation. I'm still a little younger, you know, so I'm closer to Jess, right? So I'm gonna say you guys, right? But on the real, you know, there was times where, listen, you just got to understand, man, with this, I have so much access to so much just with this thing, right? I have so much access with my car to Houston, right? Back in the day, even then, I don't have so much pulling at me. We live in the information age. And so even if you told me, I probably forgot because you told me yesterday, right?
Absolutely.
This is the reality of where we're living. And so it's not just about almost like people don't care. Because I think that's the mindset that, again, as alum, I hear a lot of us as alum talk like this. And to me, again, this is the narrative we're grabbing from other people, that we don't care. No, it's not that we don't care or that alum don't support or that the students don't support. you have to just realize the day and age you're living in, and we have to be top of mind. That's what they call it, right? You just have to remind people. You have to be top of mind. And if you're only putting out, right, if alum are only asking alum once if they're going to a game outside of homecoming, you can't be shocked if nobody showed up, right? If you only ask your students once at the beginning of the spring semester about fall games, you can't be shocked if people don't come to the game. Like, there's so much stuff I got to study. I got to hang with my friends. I got to follow up with my parents, right? You know what I'm saying? Many of these students got responsibilities back at home, too. We can't forget that, right? These are all things that's there. And so if you don't remind me that this weekend is this, I understand, right? You know what I'm saying? Again, Mr. Brash, right? When you talk about the students, you know what I mean? You talk about marketing, again, being top of mind. How does that look when you talk about the alum, right? Because I think the same conversation with students of being top of mind, I also hear the same conversation about alum of just come to games. How you come to something you don't know nothing about, right? So how can we, one, again, this is two-part. It's alum and it's the university, right? It's not one or the other. We got to work together, right? You know what I'm saying? How can we work together? Because I know that's something that you guys have sought to do, have done in the past, and also seek to do. Because Jess mentioned one word, capacity, and I think that's huge, right? A lot of times you're right, we don't have the capacity. But when I think about when I just think about these 5 people here, one, and we got so many more. We got so many more, right? With so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so much information. It doesn't have to necessarily always be that the capacity comes from the hired individual in a specific space on campus all the time, right? It don't always have to be the capacity as a student who's working in student government and is a Delta it don't have to be that all the time. Sometimes the capacity comes from the 80,000 plus graduated alum, I say, right? Because we walk off the stage, but because the alum number is really bigger than that, right? That's the people that walk across the paint, to be honest, right? So really, that number probably like 150K. All right, we want to be honest. So what I'm saying is, we got more capacity. How do we partner? You know what I'm saying? To work and get this information in front of the alum, Mr. Brass.
It's funny, man, and I'm glad you trade that up with calling me and Dr. Proctor the older generation, because I do think the mindset of what triggers us from today's generation, which is more the entitlement. What am I getting? What am I getting? And then, we come from the generation of fear factor, and, we feared everything. That's what we always was kind of taught. And I think those same things apply to, your question. I think, it sounds kind of funny. I'm always the charged one of the group, by the way. That's a trigger warning. But I think we got to go back to shaming, man. The shaming method always works with the older generation. If you feel like you missing out on something, and we've created a level of success, and we created a social culture around the fact that you got to be here. That's what homecoming, unfortunately, has become. You're not a real PV alum if you don't go to homecoming. So now everybody go to homecoming because they got to show and represent to their friends, oh, I'm real PV. How you from PV and you don't even go to homecoming? So we've created a standard of excellence around how we move with homecoming. We got to create that same standard of excellence when it comes to football. Of course, we still got to be able to communicate and create all the marketing means to be able to get the message out. But we got to create that now culture and standard that exists amongst us, to where now the rest of our alumni base isn't feeling like, oh, you're asking me something out of duty, or you're asking something out of me to be philanthropic. Oh, you need me to come to the stadiums. Yes. No, we coming to the stadiums. You not a real alumni. And me and Bube were talking about this earlier. The fact that I was even for creating shirts that's like, I'm real PV because I don't just show up for homecoming. Like I'm now getting annoyed when people tell me, hey, you coming to Labor Day Classic? Oh, nah, man, I'll see you at homecoming. Oh, man, you coming to the Southern game? Oh, nah, man, see you at homecoming. You come to the FAMU game? Oh, no, I'll be there for homecoming, though. I got my RV rented, man. Like, what? We got to start shaming these folks.
Yeah. I do more than homecoming.
Yo, there you go. I do more than homecoming.
Yes.
Lionel, back to what you said earlier about it doesn't have to come from within. Back when me and my wife first started, when we first went to the first signing day, it was probably about 10 people other than the coaches and the staff. The next year, we're not alumni, but my wife went to the school, volunteered. She was up there about 3 or 4 days. She got a list from them and called all the season ticket holders.
That's crazy.
Invited them to come. That year, it was totally packed.
Wow.
They were so appreciative. They said, no one has ever called me about anything.
Mr. Young, where was that signing day held?
Where was it?
At the nursing.
At the nursing school.
Center,
Yeah.
Yeah. We I love PVU helped promote that one. I remember I was at that one as well.
Yeah, but my wife called, like I said, she was at the school for 3-4 hours a day for about 4 days, calling, and it was packed.
That's cool. That's cool.
The power of asking. We talked about it earlier, right? Asking. People saying, now think about the fact that we say season ticket holders and they weren't asked.
A lot of them didn't know it was going on.
And how can you be in some place you don't know what's going on?
Right.
How can I make it your fault, right? When you don't know what's going on. And I think that's the same thing with the basketball, it's the same thing with the football games, right? FAMU. Yes. How many Prairie View people right now know FAMU game, what day it is, right? So it's like, how can you know? How can I hold you to it when you don't even know about it?
You don't even
know what I'm saying? So we have to do our part, right? Like I say, both sides, to put the information in front. And if we simply do that, now we still are only on 2 segments, because what I keep saying is that there's really 3 sides to this thing. And one side we don't do anything in connection with, right? And that's the community, right? Because it's not just about the students, it's not just about the alum. If you really want to create long-term fanfare, because guess what? Students don't flow in and out. Alum may move to different parts of the country, but the people in your community will always, they're going to be there, right? Yes. And once you build that fan base, it's going to be next level. But Mr. Young, I want it from you, right? What keeps you coming back, right? What is the thing that kept you going game after game, away game, home game? What do you feel like it was that intrinsic thing that you say, this is why me and my wife just kept going and kept being a part of PV athletics in these different capacities?
Connection to the coaches and the players. Back then, you got to know the players. You knew the coaches. When we were at signing day this year, Alana, your table was like 2 over from mine. How many coaches stopped by and talked to you?
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah. Well,
see, they sit up on the stage.
I myself, so you know.
They sit up on the stage and watched us sit out there.
That's true. Good point. Yeah.
You got to get out and meet the people and tell them, say, man, we appreciate you coming out. Come out to the games, and after the game, if I get a chance, holler at me. We don't do that.
That human connection.
It was easier back then when we were in Blackshear Stadium because they had to come out. Now, once they got the new stadium, that's when I lost the connection. When we got the new stadium, they come in and play. They go out. You never see them.
Gotcha. How do we recreate that same connection that was there? Just mentioned how, at the other school they had the students, the freshman line up, right? And so they're basically that wall that the team is walking through. I think we mentioned this, and also I think just at the last conversation we had, somebody also mentioned that as something that we should add, right? We talk about the Panther Walk. We also need something where the team comes through, even when they come to warm up, they get to shake hands, right? You get to clap. I think also we talked about how we would love if even like a Gold Members Club or students get this on the field behind the end zone, because that's in the picture. I don't know if you guys remember when we scored the touchdown to tie the game against TSU this past year. If you remember how Trayvon Spiller went to the stands, started shaking the hands of the people in the stands, right? Because they were like right there. We can create that same type of atmosphere here to where now your students are connected with your players, right? Because this connection is so huge. This is why I'm happy about Shaylin and Justin, them doing the no script on the hill. You gotta know your coaches. You gotta know your play. It's just a different connection, right? You know what I'm saying? So how can we create a better connection between the athletes and those who are coming out to attend the games? Any thoughts on that?
Well, you can't treat it like a moment. I know it is a moment, but you can't treat it as such, because one student who at one game, you may not see that student again at any other game. So turn that moment into an experience. When I went to, I lived in Montgomery. I went to Alabama State. I mean, I went to Alabama State for a game when I lived there, and there, I don't know what you call their little walk, but you know how with the Panther walk, we're at Pete in front of the MSC, we alma mater, all that, and then we just get to walk in. With them, they had their band come down first, whatever road that was, and then you had the coaches, and then you had the players. But the whole street was lined around that whole football. It was lined. They knew that they had to get there earlier to experience whatever it was that was going to happen. Your band keeps the energy during the game, and your football players are the reason why you're at the game. So you have to take advantage of these few minutes that you have before people start to get into position. And these are your people that you really have to support. And when people are curious enough, then they'll start tagging along. Hump Day every week just doesn't do it for my generation. It just doesn't. We just know Hump Day is just kind of somewhere where we can go on Wednesday, but you lose us on Thursday, and then a lot of us are going home on Friday. What are you doing to keep us there? Well, if I know I could be the torchbearer or something for the Panther Walk or something, and we're walking all the way down past the Rec and past the Baby Dome, and I have this opportunity to be a part. How do you turn this into an experience outside of your cheerleaders and outside of everyone else that's supposed to be there? And you got to be consistent with it. You also have to understand that you got to start slow too. People want things quickly, but when you're building tradition, that takes time.
True. That's facts.
At Labor Day Classic, we're hosting Labor Day Classic. I'm expecting a lot at Labor Day Classic, and I think this is the best season to start putting some of that stuff to work.
I think that's another piece missing too, Lionel, that we haven't explored. And it's funny me saying it because I'm not even a member. Your Panhellenic Council, your Greek members. That's for us. It was always the kind of like tapped in foundation. And to be honest with you, that's what really kicked off basketball stadium, even through our tough years. The fact that you always had sections, all the Greeks had their own dedicated sections.
The Baby Dome,
the Baby Dome, it was like, yo, you don't sit here because this is their section. You don't sit there because that's their section. Oh, lines is going over. You want to show up to the game because the XYZ line was coming out. And they creating music, then they step in and they creating a whole. So I think that's another untapped resource. The fact that there isn't a big presence in being able to own space. Hell, even alumni, y'all may be a little too old to even remember alumni is where we used to eat. Even in there, you couldn't even sit in certain places because the shield for each organization was in the cafeteria. So it created even a vibe in the cafeteria amongst the Greek Panhellenic Council organizations. And then you start throwing CSO organizations as well. Now you have banners all over the place, and now you having Greek organization and the allegiance to these Greek organizations that even come with alumni members inflating and creating a culture around the stadium as well. And I think that's the missed opportunity, the fact that we don't have like that type of Greek presence. And that's another reason to have that people stay over the weekend, because hey, my sisters are going to be out, or we're going to have we're going to represent our area or decorate our area. We're going to make sure we hold our space down because we get our representation there. So that's another thing that I think we're missing.
Yeah, you make a really good point, because you're right. I mean, during the time I was there, which was later than time y'all were there, by the way. But the Greeks were popping in the Baby Dome, right? They definitely were popping in the Baby Dome, and I have not seen that same level of activity at the football games, right, in the new stadium. But that is something that can be created. It's not something that can't be created, right? We can take that similar model of what we've seen there and create that here. Same thing with the CSOs, like you mentioned, the Gold Members Club. What I would love to see in the stadium is, you talk about the freshmen. I would love for the freshmen to have their own area, right? Their own area based on, listen, we do such a, man, listen, yeah. If you came through the UC, it was popping. All right, UC, that first week, listen, it's popping with Panther Week. All right, especially we talk about we getting down. You know what I'm saying? My representatives, when we won the step show, Trey 6, you know what we do. All my brothers out there, appreciate y'all holding it down for me, right? Trey 6 was live, all right? We was outside, all right? All I'm saying is that energy that was there, them brothers who I'm still connected with right now, like those still my friends from school. That's just what it is, right? That same energy, you could literally have freshman areas in the stadium period, right? Your 3-5 all the way through 4-3, whatever the numbers is, I can't remember all the numbers right now, right? Have them have their own sections. I keep saying we need to be playing the shuffles like every game. That need to be on the radar of whoever DJing, because why we got all these shuffles? We so innovative and we don't bring the innovation to the game.
Right. I totally agree with the shuffle. We've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
Like, one of Fairview's biggest brands is the fact that every freshman class has a shuffle and a jam that goes with it. So whenever that song comes on, you see that class jump up and they hit their shuffle no matter where they are. So you bring that energy to the stadium and put it on blast, put it on the field. You know, I know that they identify themselves with each graduation class. So it's class of 2022. It's already pre-planned. They're going to be on the 30-yard line as soon as the storm marches off the field. Class of 22 is on the 30-yard line, and their shuffle comes on, and they're hitting it. And every game, a different class is on the field to represent their shuffle, right? We know that their class will show up for that occasion. And not only that, you have to follow that up with social media. You have to go live. You have to have the phones out. You have to record it and put it on full blast so that it's a full experience and it's shown around the world. I think that we just don't tap into the resources that we already have. And the shuffle is definitely one of them.
And to add to that, one of the things I remember when I was a student was a lot of us didn't know that we could get into athletic events for free on campus. There was always like a mindset of like you had to pay to get into the games. And I used to tell them like, oh no, we get in free. Well, you know, all my other friends at the other schools, yeah, get it, but they're not here. Like, we literally get into any I used to take friends to tennis matches. I used to take friends to baseball and softball games. We started the PVAMU Go team for the women's basketball team specifically because we wanted to get more students specifically out to the game. We wanted to increase the morale. We wanted to increase attendance. And so one of the things I used to always talk to students about, they'd be like, well, how much would it doesn't cost anything. Just come.
Can you believe that? Students don't know that the game ticket is free.
No. And then they're like, well, how do we pay for it? Just come.
You definitely paid for it. You paid for it. Listen, when I was on campus, we had arguments about that sunset clause. So listen, we definitely paid for it. And I was going to use my money I paid for. I went to all the games.
How about we run a campaign saying, free game tickets for students, right? You just have to inform people.
Yeah.
It's free.
Just bring your student ID.
So think about the fact that, again, right? And then we talk about making it easy, right? So then I remember all I had to do was show my student ID. With certain games, I didn't even have to get a ticket, right? It's just come to the front, show my ID, I get in.
That's all we do now, Lionel.
It makes it so easy, right? So I'm just saying the ease of it. It needs to be explained. You talk about blasting across everywhere. The games, you need to blast across everywhere. Also, the fact that show your ID, get in for free.
Yes, that's part of it. Yeah,
show your ID, get in for free. Because think about how you got it. Again, we talk about 7,000. Say that's 3,000, 2,500 students or whatever. You can increase your attendance just by the fact that 1,500 more people know. All I got to do is show my ID. And now you've increased your
attendance. Just show your ID. That's it.
Show your ID. Get it for free. Like I'm about to make a flyer with that on it already right now. Like I'm just like
I got people waiting in the queue. Like it's literally free. All you have to do is all those people did, they just said, "Do you have your student?" And you know, student ID, they don't have no years on them or anything like that. You just show them your student ID. That's it. That's
And they
it.
didn't know. So we're sitting at 6,200 attendees, and we have what 8,500 students on campus that don't know that they would have gotten into.
We have 5,000 beds on campus.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say probably like I say 5,000 on campus, and then say another in the community, maybe another 1,500 to 2,000 within the driving range. Someone probably come from Cypress, right? But just say 7,000, 8,000 in the area for sure, definitely. That's just students, right? That's why I keep saying.
I was about to say that's just students.
That's why when I say the numbers that we can average is crazy, I'm literally meaning like it's not I keep saying we're averaging all those numbers that I put up with zero marketing to students, with zero marketing to the community. I keep saying the community.
That's what I'm saying. It's reflective of the marketing effort. That's what.
So I want to ask now,
more effort, the numbers would double each.
And that's the only point that I'm making, right? And that's why I say I'm because I did hear an interview the other day, right? Now, and listen, I love what I've seen AD Golf do so far, man. The corporate sponsorship packages, right? How he come in and got the job done. But in that interview, I did hear him, and it was like, how do we increase the attendance? And it was winning, right? And while I agree that winning helps, winning is not the final issue, right? Because we can, first of all, what if you don't win? That's the first thing, right? You know what I'm saying? That's one. Right. Two, at the end of the day, you can increase your attendance by doing something simple, whether you win or you don't win. You get what I'm saying? Because we can't just rely on, I love the home schedule. We can't rely on this home schedule for every year. That's not gonna be, so that can't be what we base our efforts on, because then you ain't gonna always have that, right? The reality is a lot of the games are going to be games against teams that your fan base really ain't going to be excited about unless you are a super football person, right? Like, yeah, you playing Cardinal Word at home one year, I'm going to be excited about that. The general person's not going to be excited. So what's the game day experience? What's the time we have, the experience, right, that we having that makes me come? That's what you got to put your focus on, right? And now I want to shift to say, how do we do that for the community? Because I don't feel like we've ever really asked that conversation, but I also feel like that's also just as easy as the students are and as simple as the alum are. I actually think the community is also a simple ask away too. I don't think it's this big skip and a jump. I think that we fear. To me, the crazy thing is like we got so many people at PV who also are fans of UT and have been to UT games. Talking about the Longhorns, right? Who fans of U of H and been at Cougar games. Who fans of Texas A&M and drove down to College Station, right?
That's
you cannot tell me that there's not black, white, brown, yellow, purple colored people who couldn't also be fans of Prairie View and other teams. But it's like we don't believe that can happen in the reverse, and so we don't even ask A&M alums who live in the area to like, man, come check out a PV game. Y'all in that Cal Field this week. Go come down to PV, right? You see what I'm saying? Who would come? They got the money, they ain't gonna buy a suite or something. You feel me?
I think first of all, Waller County in itself has quadrupled since I left the yard, right? You have major corporations that are now in Waller County that were not there before. So you have a huge population that now exists, and those are just opportunities for Prairie View to tap into for its fan base. Partnerships with the local independent school district, Waller ISD, having student discounts for students to come to the game, and not just football, but basketball and volleyball and softball and baseball, right? And so you have these that local school district and market to the district, right? Market.
Absolutely.
Students show their student discount. Students show their student ID and get a discount into the game. So does teachers and everyone else. So that becomes the must-see event or must-be-at event in Waller County. It's a Prairie View event, right? So that's a fan base right there that we need to tap into. Not only that, what ends up happening is you build long-term support, right? So kids that are in high school in Waller now, they graduate and they go on to college, but you still have their parents there. And their parents are
Yes.
living in their homes for the next 30 years, right? So if they get used to bringing their kids to the game, it becomes a habit for them. And so through the years, they just maintain their connectivity with the university. They may buy season tickets or what have you. So that fan base doesn't go anywhere, unlike your student fan base that graduates and leaves. So you're right, Lionel. We have to connect with the local community, and it's steady growing. It's getting big. It's just multiplying by people every year that a company comes and builds a plant in Waller County, and we're still functioning like the biggest employer there is the university, and it's not, right? So we have to do better in that, and continue to do our research of the 15-mile radius of the university so that we can tap into that market.
And Hempstead ISD superintendent is a Prairie View alum. And I can imagine which Mr. O'Neill and his family, they're friends of my family. He is very present. He's very involved with Prairie View. And sometimes I wonder, what efforts have we made already? I can imagine just working in higher education, the way I have to connect with all different types of schools from Atlanta to all over the place. Sometimes it's literally just an email or a phone call, or if I can go up there in person, introduce myself and tell you who I'm associated with, sometimes it's literally all it takes. Whenever you talk about dealing with K through 12, specifically high schools, these teachers and these principals want these kids to go to college.
Yes.
They want to introduce it to them, because obviously they wouldn't be where they are without their collegiate experience. And sometimes it's just being connected with that. When I was a student, I went to Brenham twice a week to mentor kindergartners, but then I also worked with the alternative school in Brenham ISD. And just seeing my face, you'd be surprised all the questions that the students have and stuff like that. If you give 3 to 5 students the opportunity to come to a game, and you have field access and you can see the football players, and these are not recruits or anything like that, those students are going to go back and tell their peers. And that's how you start to develop even more exposure by word of mouth. But you got to put an effort into that. And you have to put a measurable effort that is intentional. I don't think it's hard, but we got to take the right steps.
It's not that hard.
Definitely got to be intentional. And one thing with this Grambling, and this is recent, by the way, this is past couple of days that they announced this. And as Jess was saying, right, I remember being a part of on campus, right, going to Hempstead, and helping with college preparatory, for juniors and seniors, right, at Hempstead High School. And so there are different connections, I know, in Tentacles already probably on campus that we just need to tap into a little bit deeper, and make a little bit bigger connection with. But with Grambling and what they're doing, right, not only do they get a day on Grambling's campus, right, where all the kids in this district get to come to the game for free, right, even if they are working at the district or students of the district. They also have a day on that fan day where juniors and seniors get to apply to go to Grambling, and their fee is waived for that application, right?
Nice.
About the fact of what they now have as far as a connection to now individuals who there may be people who say, man, I didn't even know if I was going to go to college or could get in, and now this was created, and they say, oh, I actually got into Grambling. You know what? Let me go ahead and matriculate to college off of this opportunity that's created. And so all around us, we have the same opportunity to do very similar things to what Grambling has done right here. I don't know if when they dropped their actual schedule release, it was them going to one of the elementary schools here at Lincoln, right? And them doing the project with the football team, with them drawing the different teams they're playing, right? So again, that connection between them and Lincoln, even with the players. And so, these are opportunities that we have all around us. Even when we talk about just the way we let students in for free. Listen, if you got a stadium that's half full, why not let the students from the community in for free as well? Because many of them can't come to the game by themselves anyway. Correct. So they have to come with their parents, right?
And their parents would buy game tickets, I see. Absolutely.
Their parents have to buy game tickets, right? So it's again, right? Listen, I've participated in so much stuff. I think I was talking to Mr. Proctor and I told him, listen, I remember I went to Torchy's had a day where Torchy's was like, listen, come get a taco for free. I was hearing about Torchy's, right? All these people talk about Torchy's. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about no Torchy taco. But I went there. I was like, okay, it's a free taco around the corner. I'm going to go there. Listen, I went to Torchy's Taco. Now, it's not that I go to Torchy's every day or something, right? You know what I'm saying? But I've paid money and patronized Torchy's over the last 3-4 years since that time, multiple times. So that's money that Torchy's actually got for giving me one free taco, right? One free taco. So the same thing can be said for, listen, if you give one free ticket to a student, how many more times can you now have somebody come to the game because they say, man, I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the kids' activities. I would be willing now to, it's something close. I'm in Waller County, or I'm in Hockley, or I'm in Cypress, and it's an easier drive than going downtown. Why not just come out to Prairie View game and actually enjoy experience? That people always look for stuff to do. Man, I enjoyed the experience. You know what? I'd be willing to come pay for that experience with me and my kid again. But
Lotto, nothing we've mentioned in this discussion is impossible. Everything that we've mentioned is very doable. I think that, you know, in today's landscape, athletics is big business, and we have to get in the business of marketing our athletic department. Right? We have to get serious and have a marketing team, and they're planning strategies and calendars and ways to engage our fan base and finding new opportunities and just taking advantage of the opportunities that exist. You know, we've had several athletic directors that have come through, and no one has really gotten serious, in my opinion, about really marketing to get these ticket sales up, right? We've done a lot of good things, and each one of them may have a credit to their success, but I haven't seen any of them legitimately build a marketing department solely for athletics to engage and build our fan base, and which is a direct benefit to our revenue, right? And our sponsors and our recruiters and everything else. Like, you have to handle, like any business, you have to market it, and it's going to benefit in so many ways to the athletic department, and we're just not doing it.
So now, I know we've been on for a while, right? We're going to start the land of plane. 15,051, right? You know, this is a little graphic I created because, one, I just think it's possible, obviously, right? You know what I'm saying? I always say you never can hit a target you don't aim at. You know what I'm saying? That just don't make sense. You got to aim at least at something to even hit it. And so we talk about what is the largest amount of attendance we've ever had in any game throughout the last 8 years. It's 15,050 against Alabama State that first year during homecoming, right? 2016. I think we can definitely exceed that number, right? It's a Labor Day Classic, huge game with Texas Southern. I mean, it's the beginning of a year with a team that we also believe has the ability to win the championship, right? I think this is a year to start off the year that can really bring this momentum for attendance. If we can start this game off right, this can also then work to then flow into Southern, flow to obviously Texas A&M corporate commerce is going to be homecoming, and then you got FAMU and Auburn, right? What is it that we could, because we're late now, obviously, right? We talk about marketing, talk about these different things. Obviously, it's August, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about being practical, what are some practical things we could do now, right? Again, we talk not just from the university standpoint, because a lot of that sometimes is also outside of our ability in some senses, right? You know, I think we as alum do have the ability, if we come together, to, you know, I always say like the neck and the head, right? You know, you hear those conversations, you talk about marriage, right? I think the alumni are the neck, right? In many instances. Sometimes they don't know how, the alumni don't know as a neck how they need to operate though, right? You know what I'm saying? But in some ways, right, the alumni can help as the neck, right, to turn their university in a direction that makes a lot of sense, right? For example, R1, we all know this is a desire we have, or bringing a vet school, or, you know, we talk about things like that nature. If we help say, hey, we want to, this is the direction we want to turn, now the university can move and start moving in that direction because they see this is what the body of supporters, right, would love to see. And I think with athletics, we can also do similar things. How do we not just hit this number, right, but continue to exceed this number by changing the attendance, right? And how can we now, right, this year, right, again, not to say that we will hit all of our objectives this year, right, but how do we start to now see simple changes that we can build on, like Jess say, right, because it's not going to be overnight, but that we can start building on so that we can start to see that, man, listen, this game was 12,000, this game was 14, this game we broke this attendance record, right? What can we do and implement now, both as a university and as an alumni, to start helping in that direction? What do you guys think is practical to do, right? Because a lot of the stuff we've even talked about so far, a lot of it is not necessarily something that we need to even spend a whole gargantuan amount of money on, right? You know what I mean? So it's not like we're bringing things there. When we talk about even using social media is all it costs you is time making stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? And really putting a campaign together of how we're going to reach the certain people. So what can we do starting now? Because one thing that I keep heard a couple times was that people don't know. Alum don't know certain stuff. Students don't know certain stuff, right? How can we get behind changing that narrative, right? To as alum ourselves, but also the university to help to change the fact that people don't know when games are, that students don't know when that they have what they have access to, etc. What can we do so we can start hitting numbers like this?
I think just understanding every hand is a helping hand in, some regard. I know, of course, I'm in Atlanta, so we do our thing out here, but everyone is still connected to somebody on campus. When I think about what can just be done on campus, classes start on the 26th this year. That is the same week as Labor Day Classic. The very first thing I think of is move-in day. How do you get people excited? How do you put it in their face, at least during move-in day, of what's taking place? When you talk about PALs, that's something you got to put in their heads before the freshmen get there. I don't even know if they do the building challenge anymore. But when I was there, the freshmen used to travel by building to the football stadiums. It's just kind of like what you said. It's not going to take a lot. There are already things in place that absolutely worked for us recently. But who's going to do it and who's going to make sure that it continues to get done? And do we have a proper channel of communication from the athletics department outside of athletics? Do we have a proper channel of communication? I also interned with the Office of Marketing Communications when I was a student. That was the only way I really knew what was going on, because I worked with marketing and communication. Is there a proper channel outside of athletics dedicated specifically to community outreach, inter-community outreach on campus? Because the campus is a community too, to make sure that all of that's sustained.
That's good. Yeah, you got to have that connection. That communication is big, right? Because if you're communicating but nobody is, you're not connecting with the individual you need to connect with, then you're just wasting your time, right? Anybody else? Any thoughts on this, man? How do we this year start to actually see legit movement and change in these attendance numbers? Because when you look at a school like, for example, Alabama State was one school that we talked about and had a discussion about, right? And though they have had substantial numbers, right? They have seen a substantial increase in their attendance since they actually put effort in being more of a community-based, right, focus and approach as far as marketing, right? Not just focus on just their students, just their alum, but saying, hey, we want to be the team, the athletic program for this community of Montgomery, right? And now you see them almost about to bust through 20,000 average, right? So how can we look at that type of model, right, and say, hey, these are some things and steps we can make this year, next year, year 3, and then we will be at this level or this place. How can we get that done? Because I'm really interested in the how now. You know what I mean?
I think that to get there, it's a multifaceted approach, right? You have to connect with your alumni affinity groups. For example, last year, or a couple years ago, it was the nursing school's 100th anniversary. And in my eyes, I envision seeing nurses blanket the field in their white coats and really seeing a visual of nurses from the 60s, 70s, who's alive, right? 60s, 70s, all the way to the current nurses lined up on the field in a video montage of Purdue's nursing school's history. right? And having those nurses have their families in attendance, right? So when I think about filling that stadium, you have to have that level of connectivity in your game space, right? So you have that alumni engagement, you have the student engagement with what we were talking about earlier. You have to have multi-level marketing in the sense that we have 102, right? 102 is in the city of Houston. 97.9 The Box is in the city of Houston. You have several Black-owned newspapers. We are not blanketing and covering. We're not paying for marketing through those spaces for our alumni to come to the game. Why aren't these radio stations doing live remotes from Panther Stadium every Panther home game? Like, it just doesn't make sense. If this was I Love PBU, we would have that in place. And so you do that. You have to tap into the players, former players, have them at the game. You have to have smart ticketing pricing, right? Your ticket pricing, you can't have a 5-year-old paying the same price as his dad and his grandma and his mom to get into the game, right? Because that's too much money. You're going to have that family when by the time they travel, eat, and buy a ticket for 4, they've spent almost $200 on a PBU weekend. That's too much, right? True. So you have to approach it from these various angles, and then you would have a full stadium, right? It takes that, but that's what sports marketing and just basic marketing is about: understanding your targeted audience and your customer base. And there is no doubt in my mind that if we did those things, we'd have a full house every game.
So who handles those things, right? Because like Jess mentioned, right, she's talked about capacity way earlier, right? Who would focus on getting those things done then, right? You know what I'm saying? Because somebody has to kind of be the spearhead, right? Even if they don't necessarily the one that's actively doing it, right? Mr. Young talked about his wife, right, calling the season ticket holders. Somebody has to provide the season ticket holder information to this affinity group, right, or this individual who wants to support, right? Somebody has to connect with me or connect with you at I Love PBU to say, hey, we want to do this. Can you handle making sure that we get 97.9 at all the home, right? It's not that people can't get it done, but we do still need kind of like somebody to do that, right? Does a university have the capacity to do that? Or I don't want to say that does it have the capacity, right? But we need somebody to spearhead getting these different tentacles involved, right?
And I think you're right. It has to be you have to have engagement at the university level across the board. It can't, athletics may lead the charge, but they also have student affairs involved. They have alumni involved. They have faculty senate involved. You have the band and its alumni association groups involved. And so all of these entities help the situation. They bring what they can, marketing and communication, right? That everybody contributes to the whole, and that's how you get it done. I think that it can be a heavy burden for athletics if they're not organized enough, but you have to share the workload and let everybody be involved in the room to fill in that stadium. It can't be hoarded by just athletics.
Mr. Young, what's your thoughts on how do we get this turned around starting this year to where we see those numbers increase?
I'm not sure. I think it's going to be hard this year. The problem to me is with the ticketing aspect of it. It almost seems as like they feel they have enough burden right now and don't really want to add anything extra. So I'm not sure how you go about it. I think the different alumni association groups, presidents, I'm not sure how that's need to have a conversation with the AD. I think that would help out a lot. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not an alum, but I think some kind of way it's going to have to go through the AD.
It does.
No, that makes sense, and I think the pricing is also. I've seen that mentioned elsewhere before too as well, and I think that's part of marketing, right? You have to really do research to know, because even though we have a lot of people who are doing very well, obviously, right? But PV's mission is still to help first generation, right, college students and Black and brown college students a lot, right? And so a lot of our recently graduated students may not be in the best position, right, to be able to pay a certain amount of money for games. Those who matriculated throughout a couple of years can handle those prices, but we might need a different pricing structure for those who graduated to say like 4 or 5 years out, right? To keep them encouraged to come to games, etc. They may not be able to handle the same price, because again, many of those individuals have responsibilities when they graduate. They're taking care of their family.
Last year, when me and my wife came to the Alabama State game, it cost us right about $200 just for us two, by the time we paid for parking and tickets.
And so we do probably also have to have a conversation around pricing as well, right? You know what I'm saying? To see what we can do to because you got to meet that. You got to get to the point to where you're actually at the right number, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, you can't take it for granted because you have a certain set of people who pay in a certain number. And this is why we really do need to have a conversation, because the truth is we don't know of that 7,000 last year or that 8,000 2 years ago. How many of the students, how many of those are paying general admission? How many of those are paying for, specific special seats? Because that also can help us to see, right? To say, okay, maybe there was some people, when we got people coming to the website, how many people came to the website and didn't purchase? Is that 60%, 70% of people that came to the website that didn't purchase? Then maybe this is a pricing issue, because they said, can I spend 75 times 3, right?
It's a pricing issue. Normally, we carry our grandkids with us a lot. There's no way I would bring my grandkids to a PV game and pay $300-400 for us to go out for out.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
And Lionel, I would also say this: you probably have 70% of your people that go to the website not buy a ticket because the sign-in process is so difficult.
Yeah,
right. You have to sign in, register, do the whole 9 just to see the cost of the ticket. And once you're inside the website, you have to go all the way to the checkout screen before it shows you the price of the ticket. Like, it's just common ticket buying protocol to allow people to at least see the price of the product when they log onto your site. And we're not even doing that. So we're losing so many people from just the difficulty of the website alone.
That's another good point too. So 2 things, right? We did mention the marketing earlier in social media, right? I think that's such an area that's such an easy for us to tap into that I'm so sad we don't tap into it, right? You see other programs that you got to have access to your team, right? This year, we're so excited this year. Fall camp comes around, we're not getting any content, right? And this is not on the players, on the coaches, right? Because they're focused, they're locked in. But on the university and saying, listen, you got to get people excited to come to the game. Especially those football-related people, you got to give us some content. And that's simple. Even with a simple iPhone, we have the technology out there to get content out. We got to change that. The other thing I was going to mention, right, and I talked to a couple people about this. Stan mentioned the fear of missing out, right? One thing that I've thought about, right, is, having an AD like Mr. Young, talk to the different alumni group, especially in the area, right? And you talk about, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. These are areas that are not as super far away that you can't come on the weekend to a game. But then we really like them to say, you know what, we really could focus on Houston. And I know you guys have done things with buses again. I was like, we don't even have to do a bus, right? We could literally just do like a, I don't know what you call it, right? But when you got cars, right, lined up back to back together.
Caravan.
There we go, right? We can literally do a caravan. We can get together on game day, say we're going to meet in the morning at a certain place off 290. Everybody gets car flags, got PV car flags everywhere. And literally you just blanket an area. And even if you only have, say, 80 cars, 80 cars in the parking lot, all with the same flag, for everybody that's coming out and that's patronizing, they're going to say, man, it's a lot of people. What y'all doing? What's going on, right?
Yep.
This is what happens every weekend with Texas A&M. We see them drive down the Buc-ee's. It's crazy. It's filled. And we say, what's going on? Oh, it's a Texas A&M game, right? What thought process and mindset is that for somebody who say, man, one of my bucket list items is I'm going to A&M game because I see that, man, look at the people going. I see the atmosphere. I want to be involved. I think we can start creating that with what we do, right? Just simply off something like that, saying, hey, listen, we're going to get together and we're going to caravan to the game. We're going to put our car flags up. We're going to put our PV signage up, right? We might do the back old school, like high school, right? Paint the little, you know what I'm saying? You know, doors and stuff like you do in away games. And we're going to drive down to create that fear of missing out. And people saying, oh, I even came to the game, but I didn't even caravan with y'all. I want a caravan next time, right? Yeah. Because I want to be a part of the moment, like just say that we're turning into an experience. This itself is an experience that we're creating, right? And this could be for many of the alum, right? There may be some alum even who say, man, maybe I don't go because the ticket, the parking, the all this, where we caravan, guess what we can do? We can save money on parking too, right? You know what I'm saying? We can split that thing, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like we can start, but we can literally help solve problems, right? While we also need to address the pricing though, right? But we can help to mitigate that, right? While also at the same time almost creating a whole new, we're creating a whole new, like activity, right? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
This is an experience that people can have to be a part of, and it's going to get the community even putting their eyes on it that we can just build. Again, I don't know if it would be something that you got 1,000 cars, right? You know what I'm saying? But man, if you got 80 cars, you got 50 cars, you got 120 cars, one, that's a lot of people. And when they sit down in caravan and having fun with it and then go to the tailgate and then go to the game, I feel like that could be something simple that's an experience we create. What's your thoughts about around that, right? Because this is an idea I've been kicking back, but I was like, listen, if anybody knows how to get it done, it's I love to give you people. You know what I'm saying? and also with that, right? Also, just give me your thoughts on the media aspect of things too, because that's obviously so big for me. Because I feel like if you don't know your players, you don't know players. It's like you have no connection with the team, right? There's no connection with the team. You don't know players. So why would I go to a game, spend the money I got to spend, and I don't even know the people? I'd rather watch it online, right? You know what I'm saying? So media, and also just that idea, or any of the creative ideas that you guys would think would be helpful in creating that game day atmosphere and FOMO.
Well, I think you hit on all of those are great points, Lionel. And I'm laughing because the timing of this actual podcast or video is right on time with a lot of the sidebar conversations that a lot of us as alumni that are having. And I think a lot of it is, man, we just got to do the thing sometimes, waiting for the university to become the liaison or always going to them, demanding something that we want them to actually do. I think, I'm always, as an entrepreneur, I'm always see that there's an actual problem. How can I actually solve it?
Yes.
We can go and negotiate the deal later based on the leverage that I've created in the situation. And I think that's what's always been our sauce when it comes to I Love PVU. There's a demand. Let's go out and do the thing. Then we'll go back and the university will catch the eye of the university because we created so much success behind what we're doing. And then we can come to the table and say, all right, we have the plan. How do we now come together and devolve it? And I think a lot of times we come to the university with ideas. And a lot of times the ideas don't get put into process because we're waiting for somebody to execute the idea when really the people to execute it is right in front of us. And so I think a lot of these problems that we see that we're having conversations about now, I think we're looking right in the mirror of the people to create the solutions to them. And then we'll catch the university or the ADs and these other departments on the back end. We can have a sit down with them all day long and come out with our grievances and our problems. I'd rather sit down with them and say, hey, we have the solution. How can we now partner on creating the solution to a lot of these problems that we actually have had? And that's a better conversation than actually trying to scold them about the things that we see these loops and demanding that they have these problems in it. And that allows us to be able to be solution oriented always. So I think that's what I have. I think that there's so much. I want to say this one thing as well, listening to you guys. Being in sales, I think that's also an important part. When we start developing these partnership deals, a lot of these deals can be created with engagement in mind. Whether it be at HEB and people being able to go buy tickets at HEB, or they can experience, and we put some of our marketing
Yeah.
enveloped in these partnerships, so that way they see the visibility when you go grocery shopping. Oh man, PV is doing something. Whether it be the Walmarts or the big fives. That's LA, but I forgot the brands. Academy, the academies of the world, right? Instead of we just setting up these merchandising deals with all these different relationships that we have, we can utilize them to execute some of the problems that we have, whether it be what you're talking about, the caravan. Hey, with our partnership, we're going to have a caravan develop in your parking lot at Academy. Oh, we need actual flags, so they're going to buy flags in the caravan. So we have to figure out how to utilize our partnerships and use like collateral, or how the intersection that lies within a lot of the things that we want to get accomplished by utilizing the relationships that's already in front of us, i.e. you name Bucky's, right? Okay, Bucky's, all right, you're a sponsor. Enveloped in that is some of the initiatives, whether it be us developing and meeting at Bucky's, or getting tickets purchased through a lot of these sponsorship relationships we have. So that's just a
That's
few.
good. No, that's good. That's good. Lastly, before we close off, I mean, just kind of in saying what say, man, is there something that in being solution based you see that we could help to start to nip in the bud right now, right? Is there anything that you guys see that we can do on that front, right? Because I know some stuff we would have to unfortunately, right, partner with either the university or whatever on, right? Because I know we had ideas even about certain things in game, right? Which I know would be fire, right? You know what I'm saying? Some of the things kind of hard because we do need the blessing of others, you know what I mean? But what are some things that you feel that we could do right now to start to maybe address and solve some issue, right, that can help to increase this fan attendance?
I would definitely say open up the website, man, the ticket buying site. If you can't drive and purchase a ticket at the same time, then you got a problem with your ticket buying platform. And that's truthful. People have to be able to buy a ticket in less than 3 minutes. Like, you want to get it down to 4 clicks. I want to be able to click the website, see the cost of my seat, click that, and then after that, enter my payment information and buy. Like, it should be that simple. If we have to collect phone numbers and email addresses, that stuff can come on the back end in your reporting, and so the process of forcing people to log in first, you're getting a lot of logins from people that aren't even buying tickets and people that aren't even a part of Purview. So you get a lot of trash in your database anyway. I've been next to people, I've been talking to people that are just really frustrated about going online and buying tickets from pvpanthers.com, and we have to do that with that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Anything else you guys want to share before we close off?
For me, social media, man. I'm a kind of turn it up a little bit as we end it here. We gotta the social media, man. We gotta get serious. Love the graphics, but the autopilot that we're kind of doing look like we're just checking a box. We have to be a call to action with our social media. It can't be just a countdown to the games. We got to be able to have a call to action for people to actually buy tickets. If you don't make it a call to action and a demand for people to buy tickets, which taps into what Dr. Proctor is saying, it's just kind of wasted marketing. We're just putting out a graphic for the sake of a graphic with a individual with some numbers on it. We got to be able to be serious about at least whatever we have in our social media plan to make sure we'll at least be able to get people to buy tickets, and or also be able to sponsor other people when you do buy a ticket, to where it
Yes.
gives other people the availability to come and attend the game, because you can get people to want to buy tickets and know that they're not going to show up, and someone else be able to show up for them. So be able to in-kind that for elderly and seniors and things of that nature,
Yes.
or people that are parents of athletes will be able to. So we have a pool of tickets that people just bought tickets, but that process has to be easy and seamless, as Dr. Proctor just said.
That's good. Mr. Young.
No, I'm good. We just need the social media. There's no reason for more information not to be out on social media.
Yes. Yeah.
There has to be a team on campus that should be handling that now. I'm not sure, because for the last month I've been telling my wife, man, there's nothing.
Yes, I know.
You get the countdown. We got 26 days. We got 18, and that's
right. Right. And you know, and we need, when we talk about social media, for me, I think we need a social media manager, in a sense, not just somebody who schedule posts. I think we need to take the route of engaging our fan base on social media, which is a little bit different, right? Not just putting up a post, but you have a post that's up, people are commenting, and you're responding to them, right?
I agree.
Back to them, right? Because that builds that. That's the same thing as you talking with a coach, or you talking with a student athlete, right? It creates that connectivity. You feel like you're connecting with the program. The program saw you, it recognized you, right?
Yes, let us vote on what color shirts we're going to wear for the Labor Day Classic and the rest of the season.
Yes, engagement.
We need
have to create engage. What is, I mean, when you look at right now, what's big and what people putting money into, podcasts, right? Lives like on this. Why? Because it's not just even just you talking, it's now people can be engaged. They can share their comments, they can share their thoughts. So now we can take that and also put that into the department, especially from a social media standpoint. And if you're able to do that, you're gonna run with it. That's why for me, one thing that I was waiting on, I'm still waiting on, is hiring a media person for the department itself, right? Not a student, because students gonna come and go at the end of the day. So the quality you get one year may be different from another year. It just is what it is, right? But now if you have somebody who you hire, and you got, this is a direct, right? This is kind of like you talking about Mr. Proctor before. This directly affects sales, right?
Yes.
How good your media manager and your media person is, especially with good calls to action, that can affect your bottom line. So we're missing out on, there's a lot of people who won't attend the Labor Day Classic, not because they wouldn't attend, because our social media didn't do the job of getting them excited and getting them to the game. That's just the reality, right? The reality is I shouldn't be creating more social media than the department. That's just that means that's not good. That's all I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying? I should be able to do something extra to add on. I shouldn't be creating I shouldn't even be the one creating, talking about we're gonna break the record. That really shouldn't even come from me. That should really come from the department. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta get that down, because that's your first line now. Like, that's the first thing people see is that. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think we got a lot of things we can work on, man. And I hope we can get some things right. But I just wanted to be clear, we have to do more than just say come to games. Most don't even know what game they're gonna come to if you ain't even let them know there's a game going on. Come on, y'all. We gotta be serious. And we gotta put it in front of people. And we gotta do the work, right? There's some people who not even seeing the post on social media. Right? So that can't be your only way. So why aren't you? A lot of the places, for especially these black radio stations, they'll let you tell them there's gonna be a game for free. They don't even charge you to tell people on the radio station there's gonna be a game, right?
Yes.
So let's just use all the avenues that we can, man. And listen, if we do, man, there's gonna be a change. And the only reason I keep talking about it and having these shows, because I really believe it's right there for the taking. If I didn't, I wouldn't be talking about it, right? Because that would just be wasting my time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited, guys, man. I'm excited that we have a fan base that's really excited and that actually, right? Unlike the popular opinion that's all out there. we have a fan base that's excited, that's engaged.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy about that, right? I'm waiting to figure out how we can garner together, right? To gather together and then move forward, right? Together. That's the only thing I'm waiting for. The last thing I will say before we close out, and I give y'all your final words. I do believe, though, as alum, we do need to figure out a way to come together and seek for the university and for the department, not in everything, because they can't do it, it's impossible, right? But in something, whether it's that social media, for example, like, listen, we need to put pressure, again, not because we're hating, but because we see that you can do more, right? So that's like knowing you got a good player and they give you 50% effort. It's like, are you going to let them get 50%, or are you going to tell them, like, bro, you can give me more than that? Yeah, you dropped 25 tonight, but really you can drop 29 with 8 assists and 6 rebounds too if you gave more effort, right? So that's why we're doing it, not because we hate, obviously, the people at the university, but we need to come together and say, listen, let's talk, let's have a discussion. Where can we put pressure on the university because they can do something, or they do have the capacity to do something, right? Not something that's like, we don't have the capacity to do that, right? But they do, and we're just not seeing it, to put pressure so that we can say, listen, we put pressure only because we can be greater here, right? Whether that's social media, whether that's, listen, getting information out to students, whatever it is, right? Just picking something and saying, we're going to focus our attention on this and put our thumbprint into this, right? This pain point, so we can solve this problem, right? You know what I'm saying? And then we can move on. And hey, next year, we're going to put our pain point in this. And then one by one until we help to, because again, to me, the alum are also the guide, right? You know what I'm saying? To help guide into taking care of the things that really matter. And we are the constituents. We know what matters, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's my thought process. But final words, man, I'm going to let each of you have your final words, and then we're going to close out. Mr. Young, final words and thoughts, man.
I'd like to say that the attendance is there for the taking. I don't think would take much. It's going to take the right spark to get everybody interested to come to the games. I have met a lot of great people at Prairie View. That was the one thing that kept us coming. And I think getting them engaged is not that hard, but it's going to take not the athletic department, but us, the alumni, and we're not alumni, but people like us, to get the word out and spread the word and invite people. You know, you may have to do it more than 2 or 3 times because we've done it before.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be an exciting year this year.
It's going to be an exciting year for sure. And Mrs. Young, we appreciate you and your support. I know you're in the background, not showing your face, but
thank you.
No problem. Mr. Proctor, who back?
You know, my final words, man, I think it's going to be a great season. I think that we just have to do some of the things we've mentioned a lot in this podcast. And, you know, if we implement them, I think we'll be great. You know, and this rings out. For me, Prairie View's fan base is indicative of what we've overcome, right? If you look back, there are very few programs that could last an 80-game losing streak,
right,
and still maintain its classics, right?
Yeah.
And still build a stadium on the backside of that, right? That's phenomenal. That's how strong our fan base really is. And so it's just that we are not using the best practices today like we did when we were in the midst of our losing streak and getting in touch with our alumni base and getting our students to the game. We just need to get back where we used to be in doing the business of our athletic department and doing right by our student athletes, because they deserve to have a packed stadium, right? And so that's all I want to say. Let's just get back to the business.
That's good, man. That's good. Mr. Brass, we'll close out.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you, Lionel, for creating this platform, man, and the work that you do. I don't think you get your flowers enough for the tireless efforts that I see you putting graphics together, doing research, doing videos, doing posts, man.
No doubt.
my final words, I just want to say, man, thank you for the work that you do as a PV alum and a hyped PV fan. I mean, fanatic in the essence of the word, fanatic. I appreciate what you do, man. And I'm excited as I'm getting older, seeing the younger generation take the torch from us, started some of the first alumni parties and being engaged and organically formulating as a group to now seeing other individuals translate that now into this like digital space where we're now getting older and just don't have the wills to do some of the things that the younger generation is doing. I just like to take the time to say thank you for what you do, man, as well as those of us out there that have other skill sets that can use their skills to actually elevate not only just the university but athletics as well, in which we're creating this forum around. And so I'm taking my last words to call out alumni. We're going to change the culture from within, and we're going to create this new standard as we created an excellence as alumni on a professional and education space. We're going to create this new standard of excellence for this new crop of alumni as we start the path today and move forward with excellence and be productive people. So thank you again, Lionel, and go Panthers. See you at the Labor Day Classic. See you at the SWAC Championship. See you at the Celebration Bowl. Panthers.
We write big checks.
Check.
We write big checks here. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I appreciate you, Mr. Bryce, Mr. Young, of course, Jess as well, who jumped on and shared, and also Mr. Young. I don't know my camera acting up. But listen, my last words, man, first and foremost, listen, BTA Tour 2024 is about to start, right? You know what I'm saying? All them graphics y'all been seeing, the one thing at least to do remind you that when it's going to start, right? You know what I'm saying? We need to do more, but at least we telling you when it's going to start. So I'm excited about that. And listen, like I say, I really want to break this record, man. If there's one thing I want to do is I want to help change the narrative. You know what I'm saying? And so I think this can be done. This is a perfect game to do it. Let's get out. Let's invite others out. Hey, listen, some stuff you just gotta. One thing I've learned in life is sometimes, like Mr. said, you gotta just do stuff on your own. And when people see it working, then they'll start to be like, hey, yeah, we can do something with you, right? Like, so sometimes things unfortunately just have to go that way. I think with the university as well, they mean well in many instances, but sometimes they just either don't have the capacity, maybe they don't want to do it right, maybe they can't get it done right, they don't have the skills or ability. But sometimes we just got to do the things that need to be done, and then we're gonna have to bring them along on the back end, right? But once we start to put our structure in place as alum and get our stuff together, we can change a lot of things, even ourselves, from that as well, right? Look at what FAMU has done. When they was ready to try to keep Coach Willie Simmons, they had a structure and a base in place to raise money they needed to raise to get that done. And when you have that ability, listen, sometimes it doesn't matter what even the administration or individuals in certain departments want, because the alum at the end of the day are really the foundation of your constituent base, right? And if they want something, then that's what's gonna happen, right? You know what I'm saying? So we want to see the support of athletics turned up and to be what it needs to be. And if we see that something isn't there, we have the ability to get it done because we can come together collectively to assist the athletic department to do it in some.
Man, he dropped out.
But you're right, big shout out.
In other instances, I'm saying some ways we need to prop up in a system. Other ways we need to just tell them, hey, no, this is what we need you to do, right? Sometimes it has to be one or the other end. But we can do that when we as alumni step up and start to get together and formulate the structures around what we need to do. And again, it don't mean it's going to start big. Sometimes it's going to start small as start a channel, right? That we can talk about it, right? Sometimes it starts small as, hey, listen, I love PVU putting together those buses to go to certain games, right? To see that, no, we got a fan base, right? So it starts with those things, but then it just builds and builds and builds until now we have a huge collective. And now we really want to make noise and change the trajectory. We have the ability to do that. But we can do that because of the small things we did to get to that point. And so I'm excited, right, for you. Maybe as an alum, that only means you can come to the game. If you only can watch it online, watch it online. Talk noise online, right? Do whatever you can do, right? But do it to your best of your ability, right? And then I think that's going to change the game. So I'm excited, man. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. This is a long conversation, but I think it was a valuable conversation. And I think we put a lot of ideas out there. And now hopefully some of us as alums can also start making moves, right? And doing some things in our own spheres of influence. And also, listen, we have this now to take to the powers that be, because some people watching also connected with people who got the power to do a lot of stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, I ain't one of those persons, but if I was, right? You know what I'm saying? But so they can also take it and say, hey, listen, maybe one simple thing you can do is, man, you can get a Gold Members Club some money so they can go put out flyers every week, though, before the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something simple you can do, right? You know what I'm saying? You can call this affinity group and tell them, can you handle this for me? That's a simple thing you do, right? So we just need to make momentum, and I think we're making that momentum. And so, man, excited for that, man. PV Nation, thank y'all for checking in. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. But until next time, man, I'll holler at you.